Hello traders, welcome back to another episode of Weekly Review. Let's take some time to understand what happened in the current week. I also want to talk a bit about this episode that got missed in the last week. I was not uh, serious enough to make some time to take the to do the episode, so I think that's definitely a lapse on my side. Uh, some of the days in the week uh, were not as expected, so it kind of crept in towards the weekend. But no excuse. It doesn't matter what happens over the week. The weekend is supposed to be a time to reflect back. Although I did Shri, but a weekly review series is supposed to detail this out so that I understand along with you on what's happening with my account. So nevertheless, I would like to apologize to myself that I could not live up to what was initially expected from every weekend. But this weekend I definitely wanted to uh, cover it up and then see, if I can continue this all the while. But it's a big lesson learned once things go out of control, once things go out of balance. It's very difficult to bring it all back. It takes a lot of effort, it takes a lot of intention, it takes a lot of time to bring everything together so that we can actually look at the things that we need to go forward. Anyway, let's focus back. We are now talking about the week that just ended, February 10th to February 16th, 2025. That's the second week of the current month. Okay. If you look at the performance outlook, we have grown by 5% this week, which is good, and it's almost slightly above the target that we have set for every week. But nevertheless, the last week we have not seen any growth. It was a flat week, and after taking quite a number of trades, ended up with nothing, right? So there's a lot of time and effort. So a lot of lessons learned from the last week, especially the last couple of weeks where we had seen a negative growth the week before that, and there was a flat week, and then now there's a growth. So it's important to minimize the losses and then continue, the usual process. Right? That's the whole journey that we have been trying to look at. Now looking at win rate, we have improved it marginally to 50%. So that played a key role in bringing growth back on track. And if you also look at the average win to loss ratio, it's around 1.4, where we used to struggle at around 1. Right, this was approximately out of 1 and 1.1. In the last week, we improved to 1.2, but then we also improved it to 1.4 in this week. So all of this played a good role in pushing the growth back to 5%, where it was flat in the last week. All in all, the drawdown doesn't seem to be improving. It's still the same. It's at minus 5%. I think we're at max higher levels of drawdowns that we have seen historically, which we will anyway shortly see from the graph. But the drawdown is still slightly on the higher side. That means the account did go down by 5% before it came back to 5% after. So this is how the performance has been looking like. So far so good. I think we have quite a good number, so it's a good week. But I'm not quite satisfied with this week. Let's look at the next numbers. You know why. Okay. Before we look at the risk metrics, let's look at the position outlook. What are the different trades that we have taken? So before we started the day or the week on Monday, on February 10th. Okay, if you look at this, we already have broken the low of Thursday and we are on Friday, and I don't have the full picture. Probably I should have added more information to the left side, but we we definitely see that the bias is negative, right? Or the prices are moving down, although very slowly. The prices are going down, therefore we clearly have the negative bias. But if you look at the opening day of the Monday itself, we have taken trades in the positive direction, right, on the buy side, especially when the prices are coming down and there's no clear indication of the buyer coming back, right? So this probably looks like clearly a predictive trade, right? It's not system driven, rather it's probably emotional driven. And if you see the contracts that we have taken here, also to the first trade of the week has been started with two contracts instead of one contract. That's mistake number one. Second, after assuming that loss, and I've still maintained the contracts at two. That's mistake number two, right? Probably one good thing is after taking two losses, I walked out for the day, but then still it caused enough damage that helps me to not to recover from this. But it's very high chance. Right? This is easily avoidable trades. I should not have probably taken any trade on this particular day. Moving forward on Tuesday, probably lesson learned that the bias is still down, and then I've started taking the trades in the said direction. First one is a loss, again two contracts, have not learned any lesson, so moved despite being two losses, two contracts, the third one should have been automatically one blocked. It being a loss, then the second one, look at the second trade of this particular day, we have a winner but only one position contract, right? So this is definitely not a good practice in terms of trade management or let's say account management. Is that you have you're taking multiple position contracts when you're going against the trend, and a single position contract when you're going towards the trend, right? Like either it should be controlled in the losses, all the losses, or in two contracts, winner is just one contract. That's not acceptable, right? So I think that's another mistake where we could have easily avoided a lot of negative trades. So I think that's one good lesson that we should probably learn. Obviously, first thing, not to take confident trades. The second one is also to be mindful about what is the position size in each of these contracts. Okay. Probably going forward, let's also list the risk that was taken in each of these trades so that we know that it's not just a matter of position size. Probably it was a matter of risk. The risk here and risk here and risk here, they're all the same. Probably the scale is also the same. So we don't know that, right, at this point in time. So probably let's also start adding those numbers as well so that we know that we are taking the right bets. Followed by this winner, I had immediately taken another trade. One note to observe here is that this trade was taken somewhere around 11:30, 11:45, right? This is clearly in the no trade zone. Even though it's a winner, it's something that we should have avoided. And yeah, that's again a winner with one position contract. Once that is done, no trades further. Coming on a Wednesday, I've taken off due to my personal work. So there was no trading happening on Wednesday. As I come back, I see the prices started moving up. Again, not a great one, right? Because it's clearly a confident trade. But because there was a liquidity down up here, I had to take that bet. But clearly not something that we wish to. Right? So these are the trades that occasionally can come as counter-trend trades and should add to our profits, especially if you have high conviction. Therefore, we've never said that we will keep the counter-trend trades at 0%. It should be under control, maybe 10%, maybe 15%. These are the trades that are eligible for such kind of provisions, right? Not trades like this. Anyway, so we've taken only one trade for a decent amount of profit on that particular day with one position contract. We closed the day and then we moved for Friday. Right? First one was a loss with one position contract. Thank God I have not made it two position contracts. Again, something we should look at is the risk amount here. And once we have one position contract, the second one was a winner with two position contracts, and that turned out to be a winner as well. Right? So once we have a win, given it a day, and then overall I think in terms of number of trades, it's probably 8 trades, which is good. Something that I wanted to maintain was like pick quality trades, reduce the overall number of trades, take only trades of quality. Right? So in this case, it's definitely would have been better if I had avoided these trades straight away. Right? So even it does not mean that if I did not take these trades, I wouldn't have made money. If I traded only on Tuesday, I still would have made it probably the same amount of money that I made just now. So overall, this is one of the reasons why I said the week was not great. I was not very satisfied, is because of taking too much of predictive trades. That is against the trend, not a good practice. Let's quickly take a risk outlook. The average risk is around 2.8%, way above 2.3% maintained the last week, and our goal is to maintain it between 1 to 2%, right? So this is slightly problematic. Need to have a strict control. They should not go above 3. The largest risk actually went to 4.4%, again something that we should not do, right? So it's important now to understand which trade exactly was this 4.4% was taken, right? So out of all the trades that we've seen, where was this largest risk taken? So that also decides that if this was under the high predictive trades that we have taken, especially the counter trades, then that's a recipe for disaster. Right? So that's something we should absolutely avoid. If it was probably an bigger winner, then I would definitely would have considered maybe okay. Sometimes you can push the gas a little bit, but not much. But it's best not to push it at all. Another red flag is that the thresholds are clearly not respected. Number of losses above the max loss per trade is 50%. So every losing trade, if you take, half of them are above thresholds. Right? That's absolutely not acceptable. And the number of days above the max loss per day is around 100%. So even though this time it's only 1 day, that day itself is not respecting the threshold. So it's clearly a red flag. Probably would have added more amount to our P&L if we had accepted and maintained these thresholds that we have set in for ourselves. So all of this would help us maintain the risk as per the acceptable levels, to make sure that we always stay in the game with the maximum capital, not lose capital for unnecessary mistakes, right? So this is clearly violating that. So we have two good violations here at a trade level and a day level. Both together does not seem good. Something that would be my top 1 priority for the next week. If you look at the key trends, capital seems to be recovering a bit, but we still have not really gone out of this level that we always wanted to cross. And rate is a healthy range. Profit factor finally seems to be recovering, so that's a good thing. I hope it goes above 2. That's my target. And if you look at the max drawdown, that's at our time high, which is right around 6%. Right? So something that you should not let this slip away. It should always come back. So let's keep this above 4% maybe. Right? But in my opinion, 6% is still fine. Something that we can easily recover in a week. So let's see. But let's not make it beyond 6. So that's definitely a risky job. So if you deep dive, one of the key things that you will notice is our multiple has increased. So as I always mention, the gap between average multiple for a winner and a loser has to be quite significant. We struggled with very low gap and especially no gap in these weeks. So finally we are doing good the last week and the current week as well. Therefore, it has played a big role in improving our average intervals, etc. Okay, let's also talk about the average risk. If you look at similar to drawdown, our average risk has suddenly gone up, right? So it was somewhere around 1%, now it remains up to 3%. So I want to maintain probably at a threshold level, right? It's more than 3%. That's going to cause a major bell. Okay. Another red flag probably is the random entries. Not many system-driven entries, which probably would have resulted in maximum number of losses. And obviously, as you take more trades which are predictive in nature, your entries are going to be random. Right? Because the prediction comes in, there is no plan, therefore the randomness increases. And random exits are still in control though, because probably you have a fixed targets to reach, or yes, you have a put a stop loss as per the level, therefore you're exiting at the stop loss instead of randomly exiting before that. Therefore that is under control. But the entry side, the randomness is pretty high, and some of the good things on the other side is the winner efficiency, right? Like if you look at this blue plot, it's getting better and better, right? So that's winning side patience. That means I'm letting more and more trades, right? Especially the winners, right? I'm only talking about the winners here. More and more trades reaching the full take profit, right? I'm not cutting them before it reaches the full take profit, right? So that patience is increasing, so that's really good, right? So I think I would want to maintain this. 50% of my winners are basically touching the take profit, right? But at the same time, the potential on the other side, right? Wherever I'm cutting down the winners, where I'm taking off a partial take profit, they also reach the take profit after my exit, right? Without hitting the stop loss, without hitting the break even. So that's at 75%, which means the other winners that I have, when they did not reach the full take profit, if I did not intervene, 75% of them would have reached the take profit. Just imagine the impact of this on the P&L, right? So that's probably another thing that I should probably improve, and I know that it's going to improve in the long term. This is also something we've improved over time, right? So slowly bringing more and more trades, giving them time to reach the full take profit. So on the losing side, I think we're absolutely doing good. We're still letting some profits or some losses, booking some losses before it reaches the full stop loss. So and it seems like it's a good call because don't have losing side potential. It's not like we are exiting early when there is a loss coming, and after my exit the prices are reaching the take profit, right? Like that is not happening. So judgmental call in removing the losses early is probably good. So maybe let's see if we want to maintain that. But on the win side, definitely the patience is getting higher. So let's see. Overall, it should give us a better result. The only thing is we need to manage the randomness and also the counter hit rates. Summarizing, risk side, we have average risk and the max drawdown. They seem elevated, right? So we need to be mindful about this one. On the trade management side, the winner side patience is definitely getting better. That is, more trades are reaching take profit now. But then obviously the potential is also going up, right? So we need to do better here. So that's definitely one. So overall highlights, our multiple and win rate has improved. So thanks for picking the good quality trades, even though we did take very bad trades. But let's see. Random exits are still under control. That means the exiting is systemic, but the entries are not. That's one thing that we have put in the concern. The random entries are back. We were keeping it under control. This is going to be disastrous if we let it slip away. Right? Another big concern that we have that we discussed is also loss thresholds are not being respected. The daily threshold and the trade level threshold. I think this is the single most important threshold that we should always look at. You cannot, with the capital that you have, you cannot go beyond a certain threshold. So let's respect it. We were doing a good job in the past few weeks. I think just last week and this week we started seeing this thresholds not being respected, and this usually is the starting point of this becoming a disaster, right? So you need to act on it, and that's the reason why we do a weekly analysis, right? Like the moment you see something is going wrong, we want to act on it and we want to cut it down before it becomes big, right? And before you lose the capital. So That's the whole point, and therefore the goals for our next week is I want to get more trades to take profit because of the potential that we see, right? And we also want to maintain the thresholds, keep it at 0%, right? Without negotiation, there is no acceptable limits here. It should be between less than 0%. And finally, reduce the randomness in the entries. But if we stop taking the predictive in trades, then the randomness should automatically come under control. So let's probably look at it like this. Top three goals I wanna ensure that I meet for the next week. So when we review it again, let's see how far we have achieved that. So overall, I think it's an okay week, even though from the PNL wise it's a good week. We met our weekly targets, but from the execution there are a lot of mistakes. I think if we should do better and probably unlock better growth. So let's look forward for good next week, right? So I'm hoping I'll be able to respect all the limits, respect all the risk management rules that I have, and make sure that I only take the quality trades, not going against the trend. So I want to be more mindful about it. But anyway, let's talk about it in the next week. Until then, signing off.